Welcome to the Messenger-Inquirer Gridiron Report, sponsored by Crandall's Home Furnishings and Carpets Unlimited. I'm Messenger-Inquirer sports editor, and with me today is Messenger-Inquirer sports writer Mark Mathis. This is Mark's first show with us, and Mark, we're glad to have you here.
I appreciate it.
Looking forward to hearing what you have to say, and we're going to get right into it with what was definitely the big game of last week, and that was Owensboro going into Steel Stadium to play Owensboro Catholic. Red Devils, I guess everybody knew they were good. They're ranked number 5 in 5A. But I think we were still a little bit surprised that they beat Catholic 35-13.
Yeah, I don't think there was any doubt. The Wrights game kind of changed people's perceptions of Owensboro coming out of that first week. And Catholic getting two huge wins, in their first two games also kind of boosted them up considerably in the eyes of their fans. I think going into that game, I think a lot of people thought that Catholic had a very good shot to win that game. Owensboro, the fact that they got a game under their belt, and against Wrights, made some mistakes, didn't play especially well, especially in the first half of that game. I think it gave Joe Prince some pretty significant talking points to carry through to the second week. And I know for a fact that practice was difficult. They went over a lot of film. They looked at a lot of things that they had done wrong in the Wrights game, and I think they corrected some things against Catholic. Cal Prince was, in a word, phenomenal. The things that he did from week 1 to week 2, the improvements that he made. I think he seemed more comfortable. He was very solid picking his spots, and when he ran the ball, he didn't try to do too much. He waited for his blockers. And the thing that Joe Prince talked about a whole lot in the post game was how much better the offensive line blocked and how much they carried out their assignments, which allowed Cal to get things going even more so. But
we saw right there on the start of the highlights, Cal Prince has a huge run for a touchdown, and he did everything. He rushed for 198 yards on 20 carries. He throws 10 of 19 for 114 yards. He even has a pass reception for 64 yards. He scored 4 touchdowns, ended up with 377 all-purpose yards, which Catholic came into this game knowing that Cal Prince was a big factor in what they had to stop. And when he can still do that, it says a lot about Cal Prince's ability. It also says a whole lot about Owensboro's ability to just, put their wheel on you and do what they want to do.
Right. I think that was another big thing, that Owensboro did not feel like they played a physical ball game against Wrights, and they wanted to come out against Catholic and try to dominate the line of scrimmage, which they did. I think they defensively, they did an outstanding job as far as getting good hits in on Catholic runners. Russell Hayden had 134 yards on 21 carries. He did a very good job, when he had the football. But Owensboro very much was going after Catholic physically a lot more than they went after Wrights, both offensively and defensively. And I think that was a major goal that Owensboro had going in.
Well, you mentioned Russell Hayden had a nice night. Isaac Hardesty actually had a pretty decent game, and there was some question about that with him being inexperienced in big games. He's 20 of 40 for 183 yards. Breland Dixon has 6 catches for 84 yards. Catholic showed that they can do some things offensively, but it was just, I guess they liked the big play that Owensboro had, and that was kind of a difference maker.
Right, and they would hit for a few plays, and then Owensboro would be able to shut them down. So Catholic wasn't able to get anything sustained going. 20 for 40 looks really good and 183 yards, but when Owensboro needed stops, they were able to get them, I thought.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where we go from here with both these teams. I think Owensboro now establishes themselves definitely as one of the class teams of 5A.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see what Catholic does from here, because they've still got some tough games. What is Catholic? They dominated a couple weaker teams. They didn't play nearly as well against a really good team in Owensboro. It'll be interesting to see where their trajectory goes from here.
Right. I think that with Catholic, I just got off the phone with John Edge before we came onto the show. He seemed to think that he was saying we'll find out what we're all about now. We'll find out how we handle adversity and how we respond to that in practice this week. Because you're right. I mean, they've got to play Daviess County, they got to play Apollo, and then they've got Fort Campbell down the road, and two-time defending 2A state champion.
Well, it's going to be interesting, no doubt. Another interesting matchup this weekend that kind of got overlooked because of the magnitude of the Owensboro Catholic matchup was Ohio County going into Daviess County. And this one we expected to be a really tough game. And if at halftime it's 15-13, Daviess, who had to score late to take the lead back from Ohio. But in the end, Daviess, kind of pulls away to a 29-13 win. Did this one kind of play out like you anticipated?
I thought that Daviess County would be able to put distance between themselves and Ohio County. I think, of course, the big surprise seemed to be Darius Crite, what he did at quarterback. I mean, you put a sophomore in. Marcus Kimbrell said, going into the game, he was like, we need to find something. And then coming out of the game, he was like, we felt like we had to make a change. We felt like we were at that spot where something had to be done to, get the team fired up, that kind of thing. And,
Darius Crite takes over for Zach Cox, and he completes 8 of 16 passes for 116 yards and 2 TDs. He rushes for 98 yards and a TD on 14 carries. And then all of a sudden that opens up running room for running back Jacob Ward, who rushes for 74 yards on 11 carries. This is the offensive production that we've been questioning whether DC could get, and I think this bodes really well for them down the road.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. But Kimbrell said coming out of that game, he was like, the Crite still has a lot of things to learn, but we've given him, some play selection that he's very good with, and the more he picks up knowledge-wise as they're going down the road, he thinks that they can open up the offense even more. And also the confidence factor that Daviess County has now is significantly better than it was a week ago.
And for Ohio County, Cody Murphy gets his 100 yards. He seems to get at least 100 yards every game on 15 carries this time. Derek Griffin, 9 of 26 for 142 yards. That's not a great completion percentage, but I'm very happy to see Ohio throwing the ball. That's something that they did very rarely last year. And I think to be successful, they're going to have to throw it that many times. They just need to get the completion rate up. But once again, Ohio County just completely foiled by their own mistakes. 5 turnovers.
Right.
Turnovers, to a large degree, put them in a huge hole against Hancock County.
Right.
Ohio, to have success, to break this losing streak that just keeps hanging over them, are going to have to figure out a way to hold on to the ball better.
I mean, there's no doubt. You're giving away possessions, and I mean, Cody Murphy can be a weapon. There's no doubt about it. But they do have to throw the ball to keep defenses from just piling in on him, putting people in the box, and then stopping him. I'm sure the turnover situation is a huge thing on Todd Houston's mind, because I think that going into the season they worked on that considerably. So.
Well, hopefully they can get that issue straightened out and go on to better things. We're going to take a break just for a second, and we've got a lot more action to talk about right after this break.